My name is Victor Blackwood, and at 76 years old, I've learned that revenge, like wine, grows more complex with age. The story I'm about to tell you began 28 years ago, but its roots go deeper, and its branches still cast shadows over my family today. I was 48 then, at the peak of my powers. They called me gorgeous. In those days, silver-haired, athletic, with the kind of presence that commanded boardrooms and turned heads at galas. I owned Blackwood Industries, a pharmaceutical empire I'd built from nothing, and lived with my wife Catherine and our 3 children in a sprawling estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. Catherine was beautiful in that ethereal way that made other men envious and other women suspicious. Blonde, delicate, 15 years younger than me, she was the trophy wife everyone assumed I'd married for her looks. They were wrong. I'd married her for her laugh, the way it bubbled up unexpectedly, catching her by surprise as much as anyone else. I'd loved that laugh once. By the time this story begins, I hadn't heard it in years. The discovery came on a Thursday in October 1995. I'd returned early from a conference in Chicago, planning to surprise Catherine with tickets to the Met Opera, La Traviata, her favorite. My driver dropped me at the estate's gates rather than the front door. I wanted to walk through the gardens, perhaps cut some of her beloved roses for a bouquet. The garden path took me past the pool house, and that's when I heard it, that laugh, the one I'd fallen in love with, the one that had been missing from our marriage for so long. But it wasn't me making her laugh. Through the window, I saw them. Catherine, wrapped in a silk robe I'd bought her in Paris, and a man I recognized immediately. James Rothstein, my business partner, my supposed friend, the man I trusted with my company's secrets, and, apparently, my wife. They weren't engaged in anything explicit at that moment, just talking, laughing, sharing wine at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. But the intimacy was unmistakable. The way she touched his hand, the way he looked at her, the comfortable silence between their words. This wasn't new. This was established, familiar, worn smooth by repetition. I stood there, frozen, my brain struggling to process what my eyes were seeing. Part of me wanted to storm in, to rage, to destroy. But the calculating part of my mind, the part that had built an empire, took control. I pulled out my phone and began recording. For 20 minutes, I documented their afternoon together. The casual kisses, the plans they made for next week when I'd be in Tokyo, the mention of their special place in the Hamptons. And then, the words that changed everything. "I need to tell you something," Catherine said, her voice carrying through the partially open window. "About Emma. Emma. Our youngest daughter, 16 years old, the light of my life." "What about her?" James asked, refilling their wine glasses. "She's been asking questions. About her blood type. She's taking AP Biology, and they did this genetics unit." My blood turned to ice. I knew what was coming before she said it. She's figured out that her blood type is impossible if Victor is her father. James set down his wine glass carefully. She's smart. Like her real father. Real father. The words hit me like a physical blow. Emma, my brilliant, beautiful Emma, with her dark eyes that looked nothing like mine or Catherine's. Emma, who had James's nose, his stubborn chin, his analytical mind that I'd praised so often, proud of my gifted daughter. 16 years, Catherine continued. 16 years of lying to everyone. To Victor, to Emma, to myself. You did what you had to do, James soothed. Victor would have destroyed us both if he'd known. I backed away from the pool house silently, my mind racing through 16 years of memories, now all tainted with new understanding. Emma's birth during that summer when James had stayed at our estate for 3 months, recovering from his divorce. The way Catherine had been so insistent on certain genetic tests being unnecessary. The way Emma gravitated toward James at family gatherings, their easy rapport that I'd attributed to his childless patience with young people. I made it to my study without encountering any staff, locked the door, and poured myself a scotch with hands that remained remarkably steady. The recording on my phone seemed to pulse with radioactive significance. Evidence. Proof. Ammunition. But I wouldn't be crude about this. No, Victor Blackwood didn't engage in messy, public divorces or violent confrontations. My revenge would be elegant, complete, and devastating in ways they couldn't imagine. I opened my laptop and began to plan. First, I needed information. Complete information. I hired a private investigator, Thomas Crane, a former FBI agent who specialized in corporate espionage and marital investigations. His retainer was substantial, his discretion absolute. I need everything, I told him in our clandestine meeting at a Manhattan hotel. How long it's been going on, where they meet, financial transactions, other potential indiscretions. And I need a DNA test for my daughter Emma, without her or anyone else knowing. That's illegal without consent, Thomas warned. I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to be creative. She plays field hockey. Surely water bottles get mixed up. Hair brushes get borrowed. He understood. Men like Thomas always understood men like me. While Thomas worked, I maintained perfect normalcy at home. I kissed Catherine goodbye each morning, asked about her day each evening, made love to her on our scheduled Saturday nights. She never suspected that I was documenting everything, recording conversations, building a case that would destroy her world. The DNA results came back 3 weeks later. Emma was not biologically mine. The probability of paternity, 0%. But Thomas found more. The affair had been going on for 18 years, starting 2 years into our marriage. There were credit card records for hotel rooms, jewelry purchases I'd never seen, trips Catherine had taken to spa retreats that were actually rendezvous with James. And then, the most damaging discovery, James's company, Rothstein Pharmaceuticals, had been using insider information from Blackwood Industries to undercut our deals, stealing contracts worth hundreds of millions over the years. The pillow talk between lovers had become corporate espionage. I had enough to destroy them both immediately. But immediate destruction wasn't enough. I wanted them to suffer slowly, to lose everything piece by piece, to understand that their betrayal had consequences that would ripple through generations. The plan took shape over November and December. I would wait until Emma's 17th birthday in January, ensuring she was old enough to handle what was coming but still young enough that I could influence her future. The other children, Marcus, 22, and Sophia, 20, would be told individually, their reactions managed carefully. But the centerpiece of my revenge would be the Blackwood Foundation Gala in February. 300 of Connecticut's elite, including James's new fiancée. Oh yes, he'd gotten engaged to Senator Morrison's daughter while maintaining his affair with my wife. The senator who was crucial to James's expansion plans. The senator who had very traditional views about morality and family values. I began documenting everything meticulously, creating packages of evidence tailored to different recipients. One for the senator. One for the IRS regarding James's fraudulent business practices. One for the medical board that licensed James's pharmaceutical company. One for Catherine's parents, who still believed their daughter was the perfect wife and mother. January arrived with a bitter cold snap that seemed appropriate for what was to come. Emma's 17th birthday fell on a Saturday, and Catherine had planned an elaborate party, 50 of Emma's closest friends, a DJ, catering from her favorite restaurant. The perfect stage for the first act of my revenge. But I had a different gift in mind for my daughter who wasn't my daughter. The morning of her birthday, I found Emma alone in the breakfast room, still in her pajamas, texting rapidly on her phone. "Happy birthday, princess," I said, using the pet name I'd called her since she was tiny. She looked up, smiled, James's smile, I saw it now, and hugged me. Thanks, Dad. Dad. The word had taken on new meanings since I'd learned the truth. But she didn't know that yet. I have something special for you, I said, handing her an envelope. But I need you to promise me something. Open this alone, in your room, and come talk to me privately after you've read it. Her face showed curiosity but also trust. She still trusted me completely. Okay, mysterious, she said, kissing my cheek. Is it concert tickets? Please tell me it's Alanis Morissette tickets. Just read it, I said. An hour later, she knocked on my study door. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. She knew. Is it true? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I handed her the DNA test results. I'm afraid so. She collapsed into the chair across from my desk, the same chair where James had sat so many times, plotting business strategies while secretly plotting to steal my family. How long have you known? 2 months. Why didn't you tell me immediately? Because I wanted to be sure. And because I wanted to protect you until you were ready to know. Does Mom know that you know? No. And I need you to keep it that way for now. She looked at me with eyes that were suddenly older, harder. Why? Because your mother and James, your biological father, have been lying to all of us for 17 years. They've stolen from our family in more ways than just emotional. And they need to face consequences. What kind of consequences? I studied my daughter who wasn't my daughter, this brilliant girl who'd inherited James's intelligence and Catherine's beauty, but who had also learned her values from me. The kind that ensure they never hurt anyone again. But Emma, I need you to understand something. None of this changes how I feel about you. You're my daughter in every way that matters. I raised you, loved you, will always love you. Biology doesn't change that. She started crying again. But I'm not really a Blackwood. You're more Blackwood than they'll ever understand. You're the daughter I chose to love even after learning the truth. That makes you more mine than if we shared blood. What about Marcus and Sophia? They need to know, but not yet. Can you keep this secret for 3 more weeks? She nodded. What happens in 3 weeks? The Foundation Gala. Where everything will be revealed. You're going to humiliate Mom publicly? I'm going to reveal the truth publicly. The humiliation is just a consequence of her choices. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, What about my college fund? My trust fund? If I'm not really your daughter, everything remains exactly the same. You're in my will as my daughter. That doesn't change. But James will be losing his assets soon, so if you were hoping for a second inheritance. She laughed bitterly. I don't want anything from him. He's never been a father to me. You have. That evening we celebrated Emma's birthday as planned. I watched Catherine and James interact at the party, careful, controlled, never too close but never too far. They thought they were so clever. Emma watched them too, with new eyes seeing the truth that had been hidden in plain sight. During the father-daughter dance, a tradition at all our children's birthday parties, Emma whispered, I hate her for lying to you. Don't hate her, I said, though my own hatred burned cold and steady. Pity her. She's about to lose everything for a man who's engaged to someone else. Emma pulled back, surprised. James is engaged? To Senator Morrison's daughter. Your mother is just his mistress now. She threw away our marriage to be someone's secret. The song ended, but Emma held on to me for an extra moment. Dad? When this is all over, will you be okay? I'll be better than okay. I'll be free. The 3 weeks between Emma's birthday and the gala passed in a strange suspended animation. Emma and I shared knowing looks across the dinner table while Catherine remained oblivious. She was busy with gala preparations, ironically working to make the night of her destruction perfect. I met with my lawyer, Harold Finch, to ensure everything was legally airtight. "Victor, are you certain you want to do this publicly?" Harold asked, reviewing the divorce papers I had drawn up. "A private dissolution would be letting them win," I interrupted. "They've had 18 years of private deception. They deserve public consequences." "And Emma? You're certain she's prepared for this?" "Emma knows the truth and supports my decision." "What about Marcus and Sophia?" "I'll tell them the morning of the gala. They deserve to hear it from me first." Harold nodded, then showed me the financial documents. "Catherine will get the house and minimal support, as per the prenup's infidelity clause. James's business loans from Blackwood Industries are being called in immediately after the gala. He'll be bankrupt within a month." "Good. And the FBI investigation?" "Will be triggered by an anonymous tip about corporate espionage on Monday morning, after the gala." Everything was falling into place. But I had one more piece to arrange. I visited Senator Morrison at his Washington office, bringing a carefully curated selection of evidence about James's affair. "Senator, I thought you should know what kind of man your daughter is marrying." The senator reviewed the photos, the hotel receipts, the recordings. His face went from red to purple to white. "That bastard," he said quietly. "Jennifer is in love with him. This will destroy her. Better she knows now than after the wedding." "You want me to expose this at your gala?" "I want you to do what you think is right for your daughter. The gala just happens to be where all the interested parties will be gathered." The senator understood. Political revenge was something he could appreciate. Back in Greenwich, I watched Catherine make her preparations. She bought a new gown, red, like the scarlet letter she didn't know she was already wearing. She had her hair done, her nails, a facial. She wanted to look perfect for her lover, not knowing that perfection wouldn't save her. James called the house several times, allegedly about business. I took the calls in my study, discussing pharmaceutical patents and merger strategies while knowing I was talking to the man who'd stolen my wife and fathered my youngest daughter. He was smooth, professional, gave no indication of guilt. Sociopaths never do. The morning of the gala, I called Marcus and Sophia to my study. They came together, sensing something serious. "There's something you need to know before tonight," I began. I told them everything. Marcus punched the wall, leaving a hole Catherine would notice later. Sophia threw up in my private bathroom. But both of them, after the initial shock, stood by me. "We're Blackwoods," Marcus said. "We stand together." "What about Emma?" Sophia asked. "She knows. She's known for 3 weeks. And she's okay?" "She's as okay as can be expected." That evening, as Catherine put on her red dress, I put on my tuxedo-like armor. In my pocket, I carried a USB drive with everything: photos, videos, documents. The technological bullet that would kill my marriage and destroy my former friend. The Blackwood Foundation Gala was held at the Avalon Manor, a stunning venue overlooking Long Island Sound. Catherine and I arrived together, the picture of marital success. She wore her scarlet dress like a queen, unaware she was walking to her execution. "You look handsome tonight," she said, adjusting my bow tie in the car. It was the first genuine compliment she'd given me in years. Perhaps she sensed something, some shift in the atmosphere. "You look beautiful," I replied, meaning it. She did look beautiful. Evil often does. The ballroom was perfect: crystal chandeliers, white orchids on every table, a string quartet playing softly. 300 guests, the cream of Connecticut society, all here to celebrate the Blackwood Foundation's charitable work. And to witness a destruction they'd talk about for decades. James arrived with his fiancée, Jennifer Morrison. She was young, innocent, clearly besotted with him. Her father, the senator, arrived separately, his face grim. He caught my eye, nodded slightly. He would play his part. I watched Catherine's face when James entered. The micro-expressions of longing quickly suppressed. The way she unconsciously stepped toward him before catching herself. 18 years of practice, and she still couldn't fully hide it. Emma arrived with her siblings, a united front in black. They'd coordinated without telling me, a family in mourning for what was about to die. Emma's eyes were hard as diamonds when she looked at her mother. During cocktails, I circulated, playing the gracious host. I spoke with board members, donors, politicians. All the while, I was aware of Catherine and James carefully maintaining distance, occasionally catching each other's eyes across the room. At dinner, I was seated at the head table with Catherine, the senator, James, and Jennifer. The irony wasn't lost on me, the deceiver, the deceived, and the destroyer all breaking bread together. "Victor," James said, raising his glass, "I want to thank you for your partnership these many years. Blackwood Industries wouldn't be what it is without our collaboration." "Indeed," I replied, raising my own glass. "Collaboration requires trust, doesn't it? Without trust, partnership becomes parasitism." James's smile faltered slightly, but he recovered. "Of course. Speaking of partnerships," Senator Morrison interjected. "James, Jennifer has something she'd like to say." Jennifer looked confused. "I do?" Her father's face was stone. "About the wedding. You've reconsidered, haven't you?" "Father, what are you talking about?" The senator pulled out his phone, showed her something. Her face went white. She looked at James, then at Catherine, understanding dawning. "You bastard," she whispered to James, then stood and walked out. James started to follow, but the senator's hand on his shoulder stopped him. "I think you've done enough damage to my family." The head table was suddenly the focus of the entire room. 300 people pretending not to stare while desperately trying to understand what was happening. That's when I stood up, tapping my glass for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for tonight's presentation." The lights dimmed, and the large screen behind the podium illuminated. I walked to the microphone with measured steps, feeling Catherine's eyes boring into my back. "The Blackwood Foundation has always stood for truth and integrity," I began. "Tonight, in that spirit, I have a special presentation about the true nature of partnership and family." The screen showed the first image, Catherine and James at the pool house, kissing. The collective gasp from the audience was audible. Catherine stood, her chair falling backward. "Victor, what are you doing?" she hissed. "I'm telling the truth, darling. Something you should have tried 18 years ago." The next slide, hotel receipts spanning years. Then, Emma's birth certificate, followed by the DNA test results. "As you can see," I continued, my voice carrying clearly through the wireless mic, "my wife Catherine has been having an affair with my business partner, James Rothstein, for 18 years. Our daughter Emma is actually his biological child, a fact they've hidden from everyone, including Emma herself, until recently." Emma stood up at her table, her young face composed despite the tears streaming down it. "It's true," she said, her voice carrying in the shocked silence. "But Victor Blackwood is my father in every way that matters. He raised me, loved me, knowing the truth and choosing to love me anyway. That's more than my biological parents ever did." The room erupted. People talking, some leaving, others pulling out phones to capture the drama. James finally found his voice. "Victor, this is inappropriate." "Inappropriate?" I laughed. "Like sleeping with your business partner's wife? Like committing corporate espionage using pillow talk?" "Oh yes, James, I know about the contracts you stole, the inside information you used. The FBI will be very interested in that evidence." "You have no proof." I pulled out the USB drive, held it up. "Actually, I have 18 years of proof. Financial records, recordings, photographs. Your lover, my wife, was quite chatty about business matters during your afternoon trysts." Catherine had gone pale as her dress. Victor, please. Can we discuss this privately? Privately? Like your private afternoons with James? Like your private jokes about the clueless husband who paid for everything while you betrayed him? No, Catherine. You chose to make a fool of me privately. You can be exposed publicly. Marcus and Sophia joined Emma, standing together, presenting a united front. We stand with our father, Marcus announced. Our real father. The one who was there, who provided for us, who showed us what integrity looks like. The screen changed to show financial documents. James has been siphoning money from Blackwood Industries for years. I continued. Using his position and his relationship with my wife to steal approximately $43 million through fraudulent contracts and insider trading. That's slander, Jane shouted. It's documented fact. Your signature is on every fraudulent document. Catherine's pillow talk is recorded discussing the deals. I turned to Catherine. As for you, my dear wife, you'll be receiving divorce papers in the morning. The prenup you signed has a very clear infidelity clause. You'll get the house. I don't want it, too many tainted memories. But nothing else. No alimony, no share of the business, no place in society after tonight. You can't do this, she whispered. I'm Emma's mother. You're the woman who lied to Emma every day of her life. She'll decide what relationship she wants with you going forward. The gala descended into chaos. Security had to escort James out as he tried to grab the USB drive from me. Catherine collapsed into a chair, sobbing, not pretty tears, but ugly, soul-deep sobs that spoke of a world crumbling. The guests didn't know whether to leave or stay. This was scandal of the highest order, the kind that would fuel gossip for years. The mighty Blackwoods, brought down by the oldest sin in the book. Senator Morrison approached me. You orchestrated this perfectly. I had good teachers. My wife and former partner taught me that deception is an art. I simply turned their art against them. What about Emma? Emma is my daughter. That will never change. He nodded, then left to find his daughter, to comfort her through her own betrayal. Catherine finally stood, walked toward me on unsteady legs. 20 years, Victor. 20 years of marriage, and you destroy it like this? You destroyed it 18 years ago when you first slept with James. I'm just holding the funeral. What about the children? The children stand with me. You lied to them too, remember? Emma. Emma knows I love her unconditionally. Can you say the same? Or was she just the consequence of your affair that you had to hide? She slapped me. The crack echoed through the ballroom. I touched my cheek, smiled. Feel better? Good. It's the last time you'll ever touch me. Security moved toward her, but I waved them off. Mrs. Blackwood was just leaving. She looked around the room, at the horrified faces, the judgment, the phones recording everything. Then she looked at our children, standing together but apart from her. I loved you, she said to me. You loved what I provided. The status, the money, the safety net that lets you play your games. That's not love, Catherine. That's parasitism. She left then, walking through the ballroom with her head high, but I could see the tremor in her hands, the unsteadiness in her steps. She was walking into exile, and she knew it. James was arrested 2 days later on charges of corporate espionage and fraud. The FBI found enough evidence in his offices to put him away for 20 years. His assets were frozen, his company liquidated to pay damages to Blackwood Industries. Catherine moved into the Greenwich house, the one thing I'd given her, but she lived there alone. The society that had embraced her now shunned her. The committees she chaired asked her to resign. The country club revoked her membership. She became a ghost in her own life. 6 months after the gala, I sat in my new apartment in Manhattan, looking out at Central Park. I'd sold most of my Connecticut holdings, keeping only the business. The children visited regularly, even Emma, who was working through her complex feelings in therapy. "I don't know how to feel," she told me during one visit. "I'm angry at Mom for lying, at James for being a coward, at you for the public humiliation. But I'm also grateful that you still love me despite everything." "The public humiliation was necessary," I said. "If I had handled it privately, they would have controlled the narrative. Said I was bitter, vindictive. This way, everyone knows the truth. It was cruel. Yes. But so was making me raise another man's child unknowingly. So was stealing from my company while smiling at board meetings. Cruelty begets cruelty. Does it ever end? When the guilty are punished and the innocent are free." Marcus had taken over much of the business, showing an aptitude I'd never recognized before. Perhaps because I'd been too focused on the family, I thought I had to see the family I actually had. Sophia was in law school, inspired by the legal maneuvering she'd witnessed. "I want to help people who've been betrayed," she said. "There need to be advocates for the deceived." Emma surprised everyone by changing her last name legally to Blackwood, removing any trace of biological connection to James. "You didn't have to do that," I told her. "Yes, I did. I'm your daughter. I want the world to know it." Catherine tried to contact the children repeatedly, but they maintained distance. She sent letters, emails, showed up at their schools and jobs. Eventually, they had to get restraining orders. She contacted me once, 6 months after the gala. A handwritten letter delivered to my office. "Victor, I know you'll probably burn this without reading it, but I need to say this. I fell in love with James before I married you. But I married you because I loved you too, in a different way. You were stability, safety, a future. James was passion, danger, the road not taken. I should have chosen one or the other. Instead, I tried to have both and lost everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect understanding. But I need you to know that Emma was conceived in love, even if that love was wrong. And every time I looked at her and saw James, I also saw you, the man raising her, loving her, being the father James could never be. That's my only consolation in this hell you've created for me, that Emma had you. That all the children had you. You were a better parent than either James or I could ever be. Catherine. I didn't burn the letter. I filed it away, evidence of something, though I wasn't sure what. A year after the gala, Emma graduated from high school as valedictorian. Catherine wasn't invited to the ceremony, but I saw her in the parking lot, watching from her car. She'd aged a decade in a year, her beauty turned brittle. Emma saw her too. Should I talk to her? That's your choice. What would you do? I'm not you. I'm not capable of forgiveness. Emma walked to the car, spoke to her mother for 5 minutes. Catherine was crying when Emma walked away. What did you say? I asked. I told her I'd contact her when I was ready. If I'm ever ready. 3 years passed. Marcus married, had children. Sophia passed the bar, joined a firm specializing in family law. Emma went to Harvard, studied biochemistry, determined to understand the genetics that had defined her life. Then came the invitation that shocked everyone. James Rothstein was getting married again. From prison. To a woman who'd been writing to him, who believed he was innocent, framed by a vindictive business partner. Can you believe it? Marcus asked, showing me the news article. I can believe anything when it comes to James. He's a survivor. Manipulators always are. Are you going to do anything about it? What's to do? He's in prison for another 15 years minimum. Let him have his jailhouse wedding. But Catherine did something. She showed up at the prison on the wedding day, caused a scene, had to be removed by security. It made the papers. Disgraced socialite disrupts prison wedding. The final nail in her social coffin. She called me that night drunk, sobbing. He replaced me. Like I was nothing. 18 years, and he replaced me with some woman who writes to prisoners. Now you know how I felt. You were cruel, Victor, but you were right. I threw away everything for nothing. You threw it away for passion. Now you're learning passion without foundation crumbles. Do you hate me? No. Hate requires energy. I nothing you, Catherine. You're a void where my wife used to be. 5 years after the gala, Emma was graduating from Harvard. She'd invited both Catherine and me to the ceremony, surprising everyone. It's time, she said. I can't carry this anger forever. It's poisoning me. Catherine looked like a ghost of herself at the graduation. Designer clothes couldn't hide the hollowness, the medication tremor in her hands, the way she flinched when anyone looked at her. Thank you for inviting me, she said to Emma. You're my mother. Biology doesn't change that any more than it changes Dad being my father. After the ceremony, Emma announced her plans: medical school, specializing in genetics. I want to understand how we become who we are, she said. Nature versus nurture. Whether love can overcome biology. Whether betrayal is genetic or learned. And what do you think so far? I asked. I think we're all capable of both great love and great cruelty. The difference is in the choices we make. She'd been in contact with James, visiting him in prison. Why? I asked, genuinely curious rather than angry. Because I needed to understand him. To see if there was anything of him in me worth knowing. And? He's brilliant but hollow. Like a beautiful equation with no real-world application. You, Dad, you're complicated but solid. I'd rather be complicated than hollow. That summer, Emma lived with Catherine for a month. A trial reconciliation. How is she? I asked when Emma returned. Broken. She spends her days gardening, reading, going to therapy. She's on antidepressants. The house is like a museum to a life that no longer exists. Do you forgive her? I understand her. That's not the same as forgiveness, but it's a start. And James? James the first neither understand nor forgive. He was given multiple chances to claim me, to be a father, and he chose his convenience every time. At least Mom suffered for her choices. James just moved on. 10 years after the gala, I received another letter. This time from James, due to be released on parole. Victor, by the time you read this, I'll be free. Free to rebuild, to start over. You took everything from me, my business, my reputation, my freedom. But you didn't take my mind, my ambition, my ability to rise from ashes. I'm not writing for forgiveness or understanding. I'm writing to tell you that Emma has been visiting me, and we've developed a relationship. She's brilliant. Our daughter is brilliant. Yes, our daughter. Because while you raised her, she has my DNA, my intellect, my drive. She's told me about her research, her theories on genetic predisposition to certain behaviors. She believes infidelity might be genetic, that some people are programmed for multiple partners while others are programmed for monogamy. If she's right, then Catherine and I were simply following our biological imperatives. I know you'll hate this letter, hate that Emma and I have bonded. But she sought me out, not the other way around. She wants to understand her biological heritage, and I'm giving that to her. I'm moving to California when I'm released. Starting over with the woman who believes in me. Emma has said she'll visit. You can't stop her, she's 27 now, a grown woman making her own choices. You won, Victor. You destroyed Catherine and me. But you can't destroy DNA. Emma is half mine, will always be half mine. And the older she gets, the more she'll understand that passion, even destructive passion, is better than the cold calculation you showed at that gala. James. I showed the letter to Emma when she visited. Is it true? Have you been developing a relationship with him? I've been studying him. She corrected. There's a difference. He seems to think you've bonded. Emma laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. He sees what he wants to see. Always has, according to Mom. You've discussed him with Catherine? We discuss everything now. It's part of our therapy. She tells me about the affair, about how he made her feel, about the guilt that ate her alive even as she continued. And I understand why she fell for him. He's charismatic, intelligent, makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. But it's all surface. Underneath, there's nothing. No real emotion, no depth, just appetite. You sound like a psychologist. I've been seeing one for 10 years. Some of it was bound to rub off. What did you tell James about visiting him in California? I told him I'd consider it. But I won't go. He's served his purpose. I've studied him, understood him, catalogued him. Now I can file him away. That's cold. 12 years after the gala, something unexpected happened. Catherine had a heart attack. Minor, but enough to land her in the hospital. Emma called me. She's asking for you. No. Dad, please. She's alone. None of her friends visit. Marcus and Sophia won't come. I'm all she has, and I can't do this alone. I went, though I'm not sure why. Perhaps curiosity. Perhaps the ghost of love that still haunted me. Catherine looked small in the hospital bed. The years had not been kind. Stress and isolation had carved lines in her face, turned her hair gray, made her thin in an unhealthy way. You came, she said, surprised. Emma asked me to. Still, you came. We sat in silence for a while. 12 years of silence condensed into minutes. I'm dying, she said finally. The doctor said it was minor. Not from the heart attack. From loneliness. From guilt. From the weight of what I did. That's very dramatic. I was always dramatic. You used to love that about me. I loved a lot of things that turned out to be lies. Not all of it was lies. I did love you. Just not the way you deserved. You loved James. I was obsessed with James. There's a difference. Love is what you gave me, steady, reliable, safe. Obsession is what I felt for him, consuming, destructive, impossible to sustain. You sustained it for 18 years. No. It sustained itself. Like a fire that keeps finding new fuel. But fires eventually burn everything, including themselves. Very poetic. I've had 12 years to think about it. Emma entered with coffee, looked between us. Are you two actually talking? We're exchanging words, I said. Whether it qualifies as talking is debatable. Catherine smiled sadly. Still precise with language. I missed that. You missed nothing. You had everything and threw it away. Yes, she agreed. I did. The simplicity of her admission surprised me. No excuses, no justifications, just acknowledgement. Catherine recovered from the heart attack but remained fragile. Emma convinced me to visit her occasionally, not for Catherine's sake, but for Emma's. I need to see you two in the same room without wanting to kill each other, she said. It's important for my therapy. So I visited, once a month, for exactly 1 hour. We'd sit in her living room, my former living room, and talk about safe topics. The news. Books. Emma's career. During one visit, she said something that stopped me cold. I've been thinking about genetics. Emma's research. She's right that some behaviors are genetic. Such as? Your inability to forgive. Your father was the same. Held grudges until they fossilized. My father was betrayed by his business partner too. Yes, but not romantically. Just financially. And he destroyed him just as thoroughly as you destroyed James. You're saying revenge is genetic? I'm saying the capacity for it is. Just like the capacity for infidelity. My mother had affairs. I swore I'd never be like her, and yet. You became exactly like her. We become our parents despite our best efforts not to. Emma won't. She's better than both her biological parents. Because of you. You broke the cycle by showing her what choice looks like. It was the closest to a compliment she'd given me in years. Later, Emma told me Catherine was writing a memoir. She wants to tell her side of the story. Of course she does. She's not painting you as the villain. How novel. She's painting you as the hero, actually. The man who saved her from herself by exposing her. The father who loved a daughter who wasn't his. The husband who gave her consequences for her actions. That's revisionist history. Is it? Or is it truth seen from a different angle? I thought about that. Truth from different angles. My truth, betrayal and revenge. Catherine's truth, passion and consequences. Emma's truth, love transcending biology. All true, all incomplete. 15 years after the gala, James was released from prison. He moved to California as promised, started a small consulting firm. His new wife seemed happy in the photos Emma showed me. He invited me to visit. She said, "Will you?" No. But I did send him a letter, telling him that I understood his biological contribution to my existence, but that Victor Blackwood was my father in every way that mattered. How did he respond? He didn't. I think he finally understood that he'd lost something he never knew he wanted. Catherine's memoir was published that fall. The Scarlet Woman, A Greenwich Tale, became a minor sensation. She didn't profit from it. All proceeds went to a foundation for children of affairs, helping them navigate the complex emotions of disputed parentage. I read it, alone in my apartment, over 3 nights. It was honest in a way Catherine had never been during our marriage. She detailed the affair, the guilt, the inability to stop. She wrote about me with something approaching reverence, the steady man who'd given her everything while she gave him lies. The book's dedication read, "To Emma, who deserved better parents but got the best father. And to Victor, who deserved a better wife but got a cautionary tale instead." Marcus called after reading it. "She makes herself look pretty bad." She was pretty bad. "She also makes you look like a saint." I was no saint. Saints forgive. I destroyed. You revealed. There's a difference. Sophia had a different take. It's a love letter. To you. It's a confession. Same thing sometimes. The book signing in Greenwich was attended by hundreds. Catherine had become a curiosity, the woman who'd had it all and lost it for passion. I didn't attend, but Emma did, supporting her mother despite everything. How was it? I asked Emma later. Sad. People came to gawk, not to understand. She signed books for 3 hours, smiled, answered questions. Then went home alone. She chose loneliness. No. She chose passion. Loneliness was the consequence. Same result. But the intention matters, doesn't it? She didn't mean to hurt anyone. Impact matters more than intention. Does it? Then what about your impact? You saved me from living a lie but destroyed her in the process. Which impact matters more? I had no answer for that. I'm 76 now, telling this story from my apartment overlooking Central Park. 28 years have passed since that October day when I discovered the affair. The players in this drama have all moved on in their ways. James remarried again after his second wife died of cancer. He's on wife number 3 now, still charming, still hollow. He sends Emma Christmas cards that she doesn't answer. Catherine lives quietly in Greenwich, tending her garden, writing another book, this one fiction, she says, though we all know fiction often carries more truth than memoir. She's found a kind of peace in her isolation, a self-imposed exile that's become comfortable. Marcus runs Blackwood Industries now, having turned it into something larger than I ever imagined. He's a better businessman than I was, less ruthless, more innovative. His children don't know the full story of their family, and perhaps that's for the best. Sophia became a judge, the youngest ever appointed in Connecticut. She says her family's drama taught her to see all sides of a story, to understand that truth is rarely simple. She's married now, happy in a way that suggests she learned what not to do from watching us. And Emma, brilliant, complicated Emma, became exactly who she was meant to be. She's a geneticist, researching the biological basis of behavior. Married to a fellow scientist, mother to twin boys, the irony isn't lost on anyone. She's created the stable family she never had growing up. She visits Catherine weekly, me daily since I was diagnosed with Parkinson's last year. The tremor in my hands is poetic justice, perhaps, the steady hands that built an empire and destroyed a marriage now shaking with mortality. Do you regret it? Emma asked me recently. The gala? The public destruction? I regret that it was necessary. Was it necessary? For me, yes. I needed the truth public, undeniable, witnessed. Private truth can be twisted, denied, revised. Public truth stands. Mom agrees, you know. She says the public humiliation was her salvation. Without it, she'd have continued the affair, lived the lie until it killed her. Catherine says many things now. She says she loves you. Still. Always. Love isn't enough without trust. But it's something. Yes, it's something. In the wreckage of our marriage, in the ruins of what we built and destroyed, love remains, twisted, damaged, but persistent. Like Emma herself, proof that something good can come from deception. Last week, Catherine called. First time in 5 years. I'm sick, she said. Really sick this time. Cancer. I'm sorry. Will you come see me? Before the end? I went. She looked like a ghost of the beauty I'd married, but her eyes were clear, present in a way they hadn't been during our marriage. I wanted to apologize, she said. Properly. For all of it. Accepted. That's it. Accepted? What else do you want? Forgiveness? Absolution? I can't give those. But I can accept your apology. I loved him, you know. James. But I loved you too. You can't love two people that way. Can't you? You love Emma, knowing she's his. That's two loves combined, the love for the daughter you raised and the acceptance of her origins. That's different. Is it? Or is all love complicated, multifaceted, impossible to simplify? We sat in silence, two old people destroyed by choices made decades ago. The gala, she said finally. It was brilliant. Cruel and brilliant. It was necessary. Yes. I would have destroyed us slowly. You did it quickly. Like surgery, painful but cleaner than letting it fester. Very medical. Emma's been teaching me genetics. Apparently, there's a gene for risk-taking behavior. James has it. I have it. Emma has it but channels it into research instead of destruction. And me? You have the gene for justice. Or revenge. Depending on perspective. When I left, she kissed my cheek. First time she touched me in 15 years. Thank you, she said. For Emma. For raising her when you knew. That was love. That was choice. Same thing sometimes. I'm dying now too. The Parkinson's is advancing. Emma has moved into care for me, another irony, the daughter who isn't mine biologically being the most devoted. You know what's funny? She said yesterday, helping me with my medication. You and Mom loved each other wrong but raised us right. Maybe that's enough. Is it? It has to be. It's all we have. She's right. It's all we have, imperfect love, destructive passion, calculated revenge, reluctant forgiveness, and the strange bonds that survive it all. Catherine will die first, the cancer more aggressive than my neurological decay. I'll attend her funeral, stand with our children, play the widower despite our divorce. Because in the end, we're still family, fractured, reformed, but connected by more than paper or propriety. The gala 28 years ago was my masterpiece of revenge. But this messy, complicated aftermath where we all somehow survived and even thrived, this is perhaps the real triumph. Not the destruction, but what grew from the ashes. Emma asked me what I want on my tombstone. Here lies Victor Blackwood, he revealed the truth. That's it. What else matters? Love matters. Despite everything, love matters. She's right, of course. Love matters. Even betrayed love. Even manufactured love. Even love built on lies. It all matters because it shapes us, makes us who we become. I was gorgeous once, they said. Now I'm just old, shaking, dying. But I'm dying with truth, surrounded by children who know exactly who they are and where they come from. That's more than Catherine has. More than James has. Is it enough? I don't know. But it's what I have. The silence between us, Catherine and me, James and me, all of us, has finally broken. Not into harmony, but into something more complex. A symphony of wrong notes that somehow, occasionally, accidentally, creates moments of terrible beauty. That's our story. That's our truth. That's our revenge and redemption, tangled together like DNA strands, impossible to separate, defining us until the end.